experience is really nothing new. It's just in a more virulent and hateful manner in Nazi Germany. But the army in Germany in Prussia is really only becomes subservient to civilian authority after World War II. So it's really the first all Prussian institution. So to fund the army, it becomes this personal goal. So the personal income of the rulers was channeled into the state rather than into private pleasures. So think about Louis XIV, right? All those private things that he loved to do, they didn't do that. They didn't do that. They basically chose a Spartan lifestyle. They wore their military uniforms all the time. This is the rulers of Prussia, all the Fredericks and the Frederick Williams and all that stuff. So they gave up luxury, right, and instead developed the entire state around the army. So and that coupled with importing a Calvinist middle class, the state becomes a kind of hybrid Lutheran Calvinism state-run kind of religion, but religion is kind of it's just tertiary. It doesn't really matter that much. Every single revenue stream is going into the army, including anything that the ruler is getting, and this is pretty impressive. So like any taxes that they collect, any large-scale state-owned productive enterprises, any production coming from those exiled French Huguenots, all the taxes are coming into the army. So this percentage of government-owned enterprises in Prussia is higher than everywhere else. And this is a very important concept. And everything's going into the army, but all the production is basically state-run because they basically bind the middle class to the state. So this is moving forward, but we're gonna talk about this a lot. When you bind production to the state, and especially in fascist regimes, it's called corporatism. And that's a word you need to know for later. But the percentage of government-owned enterprises was higher in Prussia than anywhere else, and military needs dominated the market. Okay, so we're almost done here. Landed aristocrats, they're called the Junkers. They are absorbed into the military service. They basically see it as a badge of honor. The old Teutonic nobility, the old Baltic barons, they become, the Baltic barons also existed in Poland. I know that's confusing, but like that's also a reason why it will be easy for Prussia to kind of like orchestrate like snatching up big parts of Poland, because like they have this like similarity, this affinity for the Baltic barons in Poland. They're like, hey, we're basically the same class. Why aren't we in the same country? So the Junkers, they're absorbed into military service, and they're granted unbridled authority over their serfs in compensation for the loss of basically their traditional kind of Germanic liberties. So there's no like, they have no diets. The nobles don't form a diet. The Junkers don't have a diet to speak of. They give that right up to the state in order to basically control their serfs and to like run the military. So yeah, they're pretty much set. And they also can't sell their lands, so they're pretty much set as the nobles, and you can't really get into the Junker class unless you marry into the Junker class. So that becomes an issue. This is after they import the middle class from France. They make this rule that you can't like ennoble people. So legislation forbidding the sale of noble lands to non-nobles was passed. This discouraged the growth of the bourgeoisie, right? This discouraged the growth of the middle class because it didn't. Even if you became middle class, like if you were a merchant and you worked your way up, you couldn't become a noble like you could in France. Right? All those intendants in France, like we have to compare everything to France. So you couldn't do that. So like, why bother? You might as well just go into the military, because you have a better chance of building your way up if you go into the military. So it's the opposite situation in France. So to create an all-Prussian identity and encourage the submissiveness of the population, and especially the small and not very wealthy middle class, the martial values, the military values of obedience, honor, and service infuse the entire society. So by the reign of King Frederick William I, right, this guy who reigned from 1713 to 1740, he's totally devoted to the army, just like his father was. He does not care for the arts at all. Frederick the Great, his son, who will reign from 1740 to 1786, big artist, big Enlightenment guy, always appears in uniform. By 1740, the Prussian army is actually increased to 100,000 people. So pretty big one there. So as I said, when Frederick the Great inherits the throne in 1740, that's the same year that Charles VI of Austria dies. So he goes after the Pragmatic Sanction, and he says, I don't buy that Maria Theresa is really going to do anything about this. So he goes to war with Austria, and they get Silesia, right, this area right here, down here, from Austria. And let's see, that is huge. The accumulation of resources from Silesia increased the army to 200,000 men. So the Russia stuff you will read about tonight, but I hope this kind of synthesized and streamlined some of the stuff you need to know about Austria and Prussia. Really, I can't think of any other big kind of ID-esque type of things. I pretty much mentioned everything. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you watched this, and thank you. I'll see you later.